He cheated on me 3 months before our wedding. No goodbye, just a text that said, "You deserve better." 3 years later, he walked into my office, nervous, unemployed, and hoping to impress the new hiring manager. He didn't know it was me. When he finally looked up and saw my face, he smiled. Said, "Small world, huh?" I smiled back. Then I took action. The text came on a Thursday afternoon. She was standing in the fitting room of a bridal boutique, half-laced into a dress that clung too tightly around her ribs, arms raised, while a consultant adjusted the straps. Her phone buzzed once on the bench. Another message. Then a third. Savannah said, "Can you give me a minute?" to the consultant. The woman smiled, nodded, and stepped outside. The curtain swished shut behind her. Savannah turned to the bench, picked up her phone, and tapped the screen. "Liam, we need to talk." "Liam, I'm sorry." "Liam, you deserve better." That was it, no call, no explanation. Just a name she'd whispered every night for 3 years and 3 months, a name she was about to take legally, and a sentence that unraveled her entire future in 12 characters. She stared at the screen, checked for a fourth message. Nothing. The silence after felt louder than the alert. She called him, no answer, again, no voicemail. She unpinned the dress with one hand, still holding the phone in the other. The consultant outside asked if she needed help. Savannah didn't answer. She stepped out barefoot, dress undone, shoes in hand, walked past the mirrors, past the line of satin gowns, past the reception desk. The receptionist called after her, "Miss, do you want to reschedule?" She pushed the door open. The sun outside was too bright. It hit her eyes like an insult. She walked 3 blocks in silence, phone still in her palm, checked it every 10 steps. Nothing, no follow-up, no clarification. At the corner, she called Daphne. It went to voicemail. She tried again. This time, Daphne answered on the second ring. "What's wrong?" she said immediately. Savannah didn't speak. Daphne said her name again, sharper. "Savannah." "I think it's over," she said. "What, who, Liam? What are you talking about?" "He texted me." "When?" 15 minutes ago. She forwarded the message. Daphne read it aloud. "You deserve better." A pause, that's it. Savannah didn't speak. "Where are you?" Daphne asked. "Outside the dress shop." "I'm coming to get you." She sat on the curb while she waited. The same curb they'd stood on the week before, sharing ice cream. The same one they took pictures in front of after their engagement. She scrolled through her camera roll, found the photo of him holding her waist with one hand, pointing at the dress shop window with the other. She deleted it, then opened their text thread. No goodbye, no context. Just a message like he was leaving a job, like she was an apartment he was vacating, like everything they'd built could be reduced to a 2-line exit interview. She looked up when a car pulled into the parking space beside her. Daphne slammed the door before the engine even stopped, jogged over, bent down in front of her. "What happened?" she whispered. Savannah held out the phone. Daphne read it again, lips tightening. "Where is he?" "I don't know." "Did he block you?" She shook her head. No, just silence. Daphne pulled her into a hug. For a second, Savannah didn't move, then her arms came up slowly. Mechanical, detached, she didn't cry, not yet. She just sat there on the curb in her half-buttoned dress, skin still pinched from the corset, hair pinned up like someone who was still planning a wedding. But the groom was already gone. 3 weeks later, he was in someone else's arms. Savannah found out the way most women do now, by accident. She hadn't looked for him, hadn't typed his name into the search bar, hadn't asked around. She just opened Instagram to mute a bridesmaid's account, and there it was. His face, smiling, his arms around someone new. A caption underneath, "Grateful for unexpected beginnings." Posted by a woman named Rachel. Blonde, confident, leaning into him like she'd been there forever. The date said 2 days ago. The comments were full of fire emojis and heart eyes. One of his friends wrote, "You two are perfect together." She read every word, every comment. Then she scrolled through Rachel's page, beach trip, wine bar. A selfie in the reflection of Liam's sunglasses, 3 weeks, maybe less. She looked at the timestamps. He hadn't disappeared to clear his head. He hadn't needed space. He'd left for her. Savannah set her phone down and walked to the kitchen. Poured a glass of water, let it sit on the counter. The engagement ring was still in the drawer next to the silverware. She hadn't touched it. Now she pulled it out, held it to the light. The stone caught the sun and scattered it across the backsplash. She stared at it for a long time. Then she placed it in the glass of water, watched it sink, watched the bubbles rise and vanish. Later that night, Daphne called. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Savannah said. "I saw the picture. Everyone did. I can come over." "No. You should let yourself feel this." "I am." "How?" Savannah reached for the glass, tapped the rim. The ring at the bottom barely shifted. Quietly. The next morning, she posted a story of her own. Just a video, the wedding dress in its bag, hanging from the back of her door. No caption, no sound. It disappeared 24 hours later. She didn't repost it. Didn't respond to the messages. She logged out instead. The dress burned slower than she thought it would. They did it in Daphne's backyard just after midnight. No one else was home. The night was warm, the air still, the fire pit crackling at the edge of the patio. Savannah didn't flinch when the flame caught. She stood there barefoot, champagne in one hand, lighter in the other, watching the fabric curl inward like it regretted existing. "Last chance," Daphne said. "You sure?" Savannah nodded. The dress had been sealed in a plastic bag, zipped up since the day she brought it home. Daphne had helped carry it into her apartment. They'd made plans to come back for alterations. That never happened. Tonight, they brought it out folded, careful not to let it drag on the ground. They opened the bottle first. A cheap one, no label, the kind they used to drink in college. They poured it into mismatched mugs and toasted without words, then lit it. The lace caught along the hem. The beating popped faintly. They both leaned back as the heat swelled. Daphne took a slow sip. "I hope she knows what she got." Savannah didn't answer. "She's not you." "I know." "Not even close." "I know." They watched the fire climb. The neckline folded inward, the train shriveled and blackened. The satin turned to ash. Daphne dropped a single rose into the pit. It was the one that had been taped to Savannah's fridge, dried now, the last flower Liam ever gave her. They both watched it vanish. When the dress was gone, they sat on the porch. No music, no talking. Just the silence after. Later inside, Daphne handed her a blanket. "You okay?" Savannah nodded. "You didn't even cry." She wrapped the blanket tighter. "It doesn't deserve tears." Daphne sat beside her. "You're going to build something better." Savannah looked straight ahead. "I already started." She started with a new email address. Not a new name, just a clean slate, one that didn't have his messages buried in the archives. No shared calendar invites, no digital ghosts. Then she updated her resume. Line by line, removed fiancé from the emergency contact list at her old job, added new certifications, enrolled in a weekend data analytics course, signed up for a leadership boot camp in Chicago. She never missed a session. In meetings, she volunteered first. When a coworker dropped the ball on a product launch, Savannah stepped in, worked 2 straight weekends, and saved the rollout. The department head called her a force. She didn't smile, just nodded. Daphne called it her villain origin story. Savannah called it a plan. She stopped scrolling through old group chats, stopped checking to see if he'd unblock her. He hadn't, but it didn't matter anymore. She was too busy. The weeks turned into months. Promotions came. So did silence, a different kind this time, not the kind left behind by someone walking out. The kind built by someone walking forward. Marcus noticed her first. She gave a presentation in front of the regional board. No slides, just stats, strategy, and a calm confidence that silenced the room. Afterward, he cornered her near the elevators. "You ever thought about moving up?" She said, "I thought I already was." He laughed, "Keep going." Within a year, she was promoted twice. By the second time, her email signature read, Savannah Rowe, hiring manager, North Division. She framed the offer letter, hung it beside her desk. Daphne brought flowers and a bottle of real champagne this time. "To fresh starts," she said. Savannah tapped her glass against hers. No ring on her finger, no weight in her chest, just motion. Marcus handed her the new access badge himself. "Don't let the title throw you," he said. "You've already been running the team for 6 months." Savannah slid the badge into her blazer pocket. "I like when the title catches up." He smiled. "That's why I trust you." They were standing in his office, sun pouring through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Below, the city moved like clockwork, honking, shifting, rushing. But up here, it felt still. You'll oversee hiring across 3 departments, he continued. Lily will handle HR formalities, but final calls come to you. Savannah nodded once. Understood. Budget approvals, candidate escalations, promotion votes, all yours. I won't waste the seat. You haven't yet. He looked at her for a moment before adding, You sure you're ready for this? I've been ready. Marcus chuckled. That's what I figured. He extended his hand. She shook it, then walked out of his office and down the hall, heels clicking against the tile in a rhythm she owned now. Lily caught up with her near the elevators. Promotion day. Savannah gave a slight nod. Lily grinned. You know you scare half the guys on the 3rd floor, right? I'm not here to babysit egos. Exactly why I like you. Back at her desk, Savannah pulled open the bottom drawer and took out the notebook she hadn't touched in months. On the first page, she wrote, Savannah Rowe Final Authority, then underlined it twice. Later that evening, Daphne called. Should we celebrate? I have a report to finish. Daphne laughed. So a Thursday. Savannah glanced at the folder in front of her. I'll let you know when I'm free. She didn't leave the office until after 9. The city lights outside blinked like they were nodding in approval. She didn't look back when she turned them off. Lily walked in holding a beige folder and a knowing look. She set it down gently on Savannah's desk, right on top of the candidate stack. You'll want to see this one, she said. Savannah raised an eyebrow but didn't move yet. She was finishing an email, fingers still on the keyboard. Lily stayed there, quiet, patient. Savannah clicked send, then reached for the folder. Finance? She asked. Marketing, Lily replied. Savannah opened it. There it was. Liam D. Weston, name bold at the top. Clean font, polished layout, professional headshot clipped to the corner. Her hand didn't twitch. She flipped through the pages. Bachelor's from Syracuse, MBA unfinished. Gaps in employment filled with vague phrases like consulting and contract work. The last position listed ended 9 months ago. No explanation. At the bottom, under career objective, eager to contribute to a collaborative, high-performing team with integrity and long-term vision. She let the words sit there. Lily didn't speak, not yet. Savannah flipped back to the first page, looked at the headshot again. His tie was crooked. She set the folder down and looked up. Lily asked, should I skip him? Savannah didn't answer, not right away, then schedule him. Lily blinked, really? Yes. Want me to sit in? No. You sure? Savannah reached for her notebook, flipped to the last page, and wrote one word in the corner. Prepared, then she looked up again. I'll take it. Lily nodded once, then backed toward the door. She paused before leaving. Let me know if you need anything. Savannah closed the folder and slid it neatly under the rest of the stack. She didn't rush, she didn't text Daphne, she didn't smile. She just opened the next file in line. She scheduled the interview for a Wednesday morning. Midweek, neutral, no special meaning. She picked a time that was early enough to feel serious, but not urgent, 10:00 a.m. just after coffee, just before lunch. A window where people tend to show who they really are. Lily didn't ask questions. The calendar invite went out. Blocked, private, with no names listed except hers. Savannah didn't tell Daphne, didn't rehearse, didn't fantasize about what she'd say. She just marked the time in her planner with a red dot. No label. That week, she stuck to her normal rhythm, reviewed 3 candidate panels, finalized a quarterly review report, spoke to Marcus twice about lateral hires in sales and dev ops. Every time she passed Lily in the hallway, there was a glance, but no conversation. At home, she meal prepped like usual, listened to the same podcasts. Took 2 walks, her routine didn't change, not on the outside. But the red dot was there, waiting. When Wednesday arrived, she wore the dark blue suit, the one with the sharp shoulders and the thin gold chain under the collar. No earrings, a nude lip, hair pinned clean. She walked into the office at 8:15, earlier than usual. Ava passed her in the hallway. Big day. Savannah nodded, just interviews. Ava smiled and kept walking. Lily handed her a printout of the final list for the day. He's second. Savannah took the paper without a word and closed her door. At 9:58, she stood, smoothed the front of her blazer, walked to the small conference room with glass walls and one frosted panel. sat at the head of the table, flipped open her notepad, and waited. He walked in with a nervous smile and a leather portfolio tucked under his arm like it could protect him. Savannah didn't speak. She just looked up. He didn't recognize her at first. "Hi, I'm Liam Weston," he said, voice too bright, hand extended across the table. She looked at the hand, then met his eyes. The moment landed. His face didn't change immediately. It shifted in waves, smile still on, then faltering. Then freezing. He didn't lower his hand, didn't speak. Savannah stayed seated, folded her hands on the table. Finally, she said, "Take a seat." He sat slowly. The silence between them expanded, thick, real, undeniable. He cleared his throat. "It's good to see you." She didn't respond. He laughed, soft and awkward. "I wasn't expecting." "You should have read the invite," she said. He opened his mouth, closed it again. The portfolio was still on his lap. He fumbled it onto the table and opened it like that might reset the tone. "I didn't realize you were well. This is an interview," she said. He nodded quickly. "Of course, yes." She turned a page in her notepad, glanced at her watch. He straightened in his chair. "I'm sure this is weird for you." She said nothing. He tried again. "It's a small world." She looked up just once, then wrote something on the paper in front of her. He watched her pen move, then stopped speaking. He laughed, quick and breathy, like it might make the air between them lighter. "Small world, huh?" he said again, this time softer. Savannah didn't laugh, she didn't smile, she didn't offer anything. She flipped the page in her notepad and clicked her pen once. He shifted in his chair. "You look good," he said. She raised her eyes. The room went still again. He swallowed. "I mean, you always did, but now you just, you look." He trailed off. She waited. He reached for the glass of water in front of him, took a quick sip, then set it down too fast. The glass clinked against the table. Savannah said, "Shall we begin?" He nodded, "Yes." "Of course." She leaned back slightly. "Walk me through your experience since Westbridge." He blinked. "Westbridge." She didn't repeat herself. He recovered. "Right, Westbridge. Yeah, I was there for 2 years. Worked under their digital marketing arm, mostly branding. I led a small team by the end. We launched a few regional campaigns. Numbers were strong." She said nothing. He continued. "After that, I did some freelance work. A couple startups, contracted for a travel brand last year. Content creation, ad placement, more hands-on." "And why did you leave your last role?" she asked. The pause was too long. He blinked. It was a startup. Funding fell through. And before that," he hesitated. "I left." "Why?" "Mismatch in values." "What values?" He hesitated again. "Their direction changed. I didn't agree with it." She nodded slowly, wrote something down. He leaned forward. "Look, I know what you're thinking. I wasn't always the most stable. I've grown a lot." Savannah kept writing. "I've had time to think, reflect. I've changed." She didn't look up. "People mess up, Savannah," he added, almost a whisper. "I messed up, but I'm not that guy anymore." She capped her pen and moved to the next question. She let him speak. Let him spin desperation into ambition, anxiety into growth. He leaned forward now, hands folded on the table, talking faster, like the more he said, the more he could soften the air around them. "I've learned how to work with people better," he said. "How to lead. I don't just react anymore. I plan, I prioritize, I listen." She watched. He continued. "I know how to handle pressure. I've worked with limited budgets, impossible timelines, teams that barely knew each other, and I still got it done." He listed campaign metrics, revenue boosts, team morale scores. He never mentioned the gaps. She let the silence answer for her, then asked, "What's the longest you've held a role since Westbridge?" He paused. 15 months. "And why did that one end?" He shifted in his chair again. "Personal reasons." She clicked her pen open again, "Such as?" His jaw twitched. "I wasn't in a great headspace. Things were complicated." "Complicated how?" He hesitated, then shrugged. "Life stuff." Savannah nodded, wrote 3 words. Liam cleared his throat again. "Can I just say something off the record?" She didn't say yes. He said it anyway. "I never meant to hurt you." Still, she wrote, "It wasn't supposed to happen that way." Still, she didn't look up. "I panicked. I thought I was doing the right thing, giving you space, letting you go." He looked at her for a reaction. Anything. Her face didn't move. "I see now how much I ruined," he said. She closed her notebook, Thank you, she said. He blinked. That's it. That's it. He stood up slowly. She stood too. He held out his hand again. This time she shook it. Her grip was firm, cold. He tried one last time. Really is a small world. She nodded once and opened the door. Lily was waiting just outside. She didn't say anything at first, just stepped back as Liam passed her, eyes following him until the elevator doors slid shut. Then she turned to Savannah. That was tense. Savannah didn't react. Lily glanced down the hallway again. Do you want to debrief or? No, Savannah said. We'll move on. Lily nodded slowly. Understood. She handed Savannah the next folder in the stack. Candidate from Hudson Group. Solid metrics, no gaps. Savannah flipped it open without looking up. Lily hesitated in the doorway, then said he didn't seem to know what hit him. Savannah's eyes stayed on the paper. That wasn't the point, she said. Lily waited a beat, then turned and walked away. The door clicked shut. Savannah sat down, opened her notebook again, and wrote one word at the top of a fresh page, neutralized. Then she moved to the next candidate file. No expression, no second thoughts. The work waited, and so did she. She slept like a baby that night. No dreams, no flashbacks, no mental reruns of old arguments or hypothetical comebacks. No nausea in her chest, no twitch in her jaw. She brushed her teeth, changed into the same navy t-shirt she'd worn 100 times before, and climbed into bed with the quiet click of a woman who had finally locked the right door behind her. No calls, no emails, no guilt. She turned off the bedside lamp and stared at the ceiling for exactly 7 seconds before her eyes closed. The silence wasn't empty. It was earned. She didn't wake up in a panic. She didn't reach for her phone to check for his name. She didn't rehearse what she should have said, because she'd said exactly what she needed to say with her silence, her questions, her posture. Power had shifted. And it didn't need to roar. It just needed to stay. The next morning, she got up early, beat traffic, beat Lily to the office, made herself a cup of black coffee and sat by the window overlooking the city. She flipped open her laptop, went to her email, scanned through the clutter, paused on one message. Subject line, thank you for the opportunity. She opened it. It was from him. Savannah, I just wanted to say thank you for the professionalism today. I know it couldn't have been easy, and I admire the way you carried yourself. I hope whatever happens, there's no bad blood between us. I meant what I said. I've changed, and I'd be lucky to prove that to you and your team. Warm regards. Liam. She read it once, then again, then closed the tab. She took another sip of coffee and started her day. Daphne screamed so loud Savannah had to hold the phone away from her ear. You're kidding. I'm not. Tell me you made him sweat. Savannah walked to the window, watching the people pass 12 floors below. I didn't have to, she said. You're telling me the man who text dumped you 3 months before the wedding sat across from you like it was nothing. He didn't recognize me at first. The audacity. Eventually he did. And I let him speak. No, see, I'd have flipped the table, tossed a stapler, something. Savannah smiled, faint and private. That's why I didn't invite you. You're no fun. I'm peace. You're a monk. I'm employed. Daphne laughed, short and sharp. So what now? You gonna tell Marcus? When he asks, you gonna tell me what he said afterward? He emailed. Of course he did. Said I was professional. You are. Said he's changed. He hasn't. Savannah walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, stared at the shelf she always meant to restock. I didn't feel anything, she said. Not hate, not heat, nothing. Closure. Control. That's new. It fits. You didn't respond. Not yet. Daphne paused on the other end. Then, you're a better woman than me. I know. Can I still slash his tires? You don't know where he parked. I'll find out. Savannah chuckled once, then opened the freezer and pulled out a tray of ice. You okay? Daphne asked, softer now. Savannah dropped a cube into her glass. Yeah, I am. The next morning, his name popped up in her inbox again. Subject line, following up. No greeting, just the attached PDF of a writing sample and a short message. As requested, attaching my previous campaign outline and digital engagement strategy for your review. Thank you again for your time and consideration. She hadn't requested anything. She stared at the email for a few seconds, then dragged it into a separate folder. Didn't open the attachment. Didn't reply. Not yet. A few hours later, her calendar pinged. Marcus, 15-minute check-in. She walked into his office right on time. He glanced up from his laptop and said, "How'd the interviews go yesterday?" She took the seat across from him. 4 promising candidates, 2 standouts, 1 concern. Marcus leaned back. "Let me guess, the concern is the one who used to be yours." She didn't flinch. "You knew." "I saw his name. I figured you'd recognize it. Wasn't sure if you'd recuse yourself or lean in." "I leaned in." Marcus smiled. "You're better at that than most." "He handled himself fine," she said, "but..." She handed him her notes. He scanned them quickly. "Competent but unstable, avoids accountability, glosses over gaps. Polished on the surface, no substance underneath." He looked up. "That about cover it." Savannah nodded. Marcus set the papers aside. "I trust your judgment." She stood. "Thanks for the time." He added, just before she reached the door, "You want to be the one to send the decision." "I do." He nodded. She walked back to her desk, opened her laptop, found his email, clicked reply, typed, "Thank you for your time. We've decided to move forward with another candidate." No greeting, no closing, no emotion, just resolution. Then she hit send. The response came 5 hours later. Subject line, "Thank you again." No capital letters, no punctuation at the end. The body of the email was short. "Appreciate the update. Wishing you and the team all the best. Thanks again for the opportunity." Savannah didn't reply. She archived the message and closed her laptop for the night. The next morning, security called her desk at 9:12 a.m. "There's a Liam Weston downstairs," the guard said. "He's asking to speak with you," said it's about his interview. Savannah paused, her hand resting lightly on the edge of her desk. "Did he have an appointment?" she asked. "No, ma'am, just walked in." "Is he being disruptive?" "No, just waiting." She looked at the door to her office, then at the clock. "I'll come down." She didn't tell Lily, didn't tell Marcus, didn't ask permission. She left her blazer on the back of the chair and walked to the elevator with her ID clipped neatly at her waist. The lobby was quiet. Liam stood by the far window, hands in his pockets, still wearing the same beige coat from the interview. His foot tapped lightly, a rhythm out of sync with the lobby music. He looked up as she approached, straightened, smiled but only a little. "I know this is unorthodox," he said, "but I was hoping for some clarity." She said nothing. "I just look, if it was because of me, because of our past, I get it. I do. But if there's anything I can improve, I'd appreciate the feedback. Anything, just some transparency." She studied his face, the way he kept his posture polite but strained, the way he used his hands when he spoke, like he was trying to soften the words midair. She waited until he finished, then said, "Let's talk." She led him outside, didn't ask him to sit, didn't offer water, didn't speak until they were on the sidewalk, away from the echo of the lobby and the curious glance of the receptionist behind the glass. He walked beside her like he didn't know if he was being escorted out or invited into something worse. When they reached the edge of the block, she stopped, turned to him, looked him in the eye. He didn't smile this time, just waited. She said, 3 years ago, you sent me a text." He exhaled, looked away for a second. "Yeah, you said I deserved better." "I meant it," he said quietly. "I know it didn't come out right, but I meant it." She nodded slowly. "I agree." He looked up. "I do deserve better." He opened his mouth, closed it again. She continued, voice even, precise. "You ghosted me 3 months before our wedding, left me to cancel the venue, the florist, the guest list. I didn't hear from you again. Not until you walked into that room, pretending like we were strangers." He tried to speak. She held up a hand. "You don't get to rewrite what you did. You don't get to spin it into growth or clarity. You left. You lied. You disappeared." He stepped forward. "I was scared." "You were selfish," she corrected. "I didn't know how to say goodbye." "You didn't say anything." They stood there, 2 people shaped by something unfinished, now standing in the middle of it. He said, "I'm sorry." She said, "I'm not." That landed hard. "I'm not angry," she added. "I'm not hurt, I'm not stuck, you are." He blinked, swallowed. She looked at him one more time, not with love, not with hate, just clarity. Then she turned, walked away, didn't look back, didn't slow down, Didn't pause when the wind picked up or when someone on the street brushed past her with a hurried apology. She walked with purpose, and meant it. Ava saw her before anyone else did. She was standing near the second-floor balcony, sorting through a stack of onboarding documents when she looked down and spotted Savannah outside. Walking away. Alone, head high, not rushed, not rattled, just steady. Ava turned slightly, tracking her through the glass as she crossed the courtyard and disappeared behind the hedge wall. When Savannah came back upstairs, 30 minutes later, Ava was by the printer. She hesitated, unsure. Then asked, "Was that your ex?" Savannah didn't flinch. "Yes." Ava waited a beat. "Was he here for an interview?" "He was." "You didn't hire him?" "No." Ava nodded slowly. Then after a pause asked, "Was it personal?" Savannah folded the document in her hands, placed it into the outbox tray and said, "It was professional." Then softer, "But yes, it was also personal." Ava looked down. Savannah added, "That was a reminder." "A reminder of what?" Savannah turned to her fully. "Never lower your standards just to keep someone comfortable." Ava nodded again. "I'll remember that." "Good." The printer beeped behind them. Savannah picked up the next stack of papers, walked calmly back to her office. She didn't tell Daphne right away, not because it didn't matter, but because it didn't need repeating. She didn't rush home, didn't replay the moment, didn't analyze the expression on Liam's face when she turned her back on him. She just went back upstairs, took the stairs instead of the elevator, her breath steady, her steps even. Lily saw her come back in and raised an eyebrow. Savannah gave a simple nod. Nothing else passed between them. She returned to her desk, cleared out 2 flagged emails, approved a time-off request, forwarded a hiring recommendation for a separate candidate, one who actually had potential. At lunch, she ate at her desk, quietly, unbothered. That night Daphne called, "What's new?" Savannah leaned against the kitchen counter. "Nothing, just work." Daphne groaned. "Girl, you've been way too calm since he showed up. Are you sure you didn't bury him behind the building?" "I didn't have to." "Did you at least say something that made him cry a little?" Savannah smiled faintly. "I said what needed to be said." Daphne paused. "You're gonna tell me eventually, right?" "Eventually. But not tonight." Tonight wasn't about storytelling. Tonight was about silence that didn't hurt anymore. She didn't know Ava had seen anything until the next morning. It was early. Quiet, the kind of quiet that makes sound feel like a decision. Ava stood by the coffee machine, her hands wrapped around a mug that was still too hot to drink from. When Savannah walked in, Ava turned. "Hey," she said. Savannah gave her a polite nod. "Morning." Ava hesitated, then said, "I saw you yesterday, from the mezzanine." Savannah didn't stop walking. She opened the cabinet, pulled down her own mug. Ava kept going. "I saw him too. At the security desk. I didn't know who he was until I saw your face when you walked past me after." Savannah filled her mug with coffee. 1 sugar, no cream. Ava looked down at her own mug, then said quietly, "I didn't know it was possible to carry yourself like that." Savannah glanced over. "Like what?" "Like you didn't owe him anything. Like power could be silent." Savannah took a slow sip. The mug warmed her palms, but her face stayed unreadable. Ava said, "I just wanted to say thank you." "For what?" "For showing me that strength doesn't have to be loud." Savannah looked at her then, really looked. She said, "Strength is knowing when the conversation ends." Ava nodded. "You didn't yell, you didn't drag him." "I didn't need to." He looked destroyed. "Good." Ava smiled just barely. "That kind of calm. That's dangerous." "No," Savannah said, turning to head back to her office. "That kind of calm is earned." Ava stood there holding her cup, still watching her, still learning. She left the office light on that night, not by accident. Not because she forgot, but because it meant something. Everyone else had gone home. Lily had waved goodbye from the elevator, and Marcus had nodded at her through the glass wall, keys in hand, jacket slung over his shoulder. Even Ava had finally shut down her screen, whispering good night before she slipped out. But Savannah stayed. Not to finish work, not to be seen, just to sit in the quiet she had built for herself. She stood by the window, one hand resting lightly on the edge of the glass, watching the city breathe. Tail lights flickering, street lights buzzing. Somewhere below, a couple argued under an umbrella. Someone else hailed a cab. all of it moved on. So did she. No grief clung to her anymore. No tightness in her chest. No tension behind her eyes. There was no version of this story where she wished he'd stayed. There was no part of her that wanted the apology to be louder, the regret more dramatic. He had already said everything the moment he vanished. And she had already responded, not with noise, but with the life she rebuilt from nothing. Not out of spite, but out of certainty. She didn't send a final message. She didn't scroll through old pictures. She didn't wonder what would happen to him next. That part of her life no longer needed resolution. It already had it. She turned off her desk lamp, left the main light on, and stepped out of the office, leaving behind a room that glowed like a quiet kind of victory. Because this time, she was the one who walked away. And this time, she never looked back. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.